So our final conference spotlight welcomes Sarah Bansen, who works with the Refugee and Immigrant Assistance Center here in Boston. Refugees and other migrants have unique mental health care needs stemming from experiences of war, trauma, loss, movement, and uncertainty around their status and situation, as we've just explored. Traditional care practitioners without migrant-specific training often lack cultural awareness that can further exacerbate mental health issues for migrants. So in this spotlight, we're going to learn about barriers to culturally competent mental health care, as well as ways in which care providers can and should incorporate knowledge about particular circumstances and needs of refugees and migrants into their work.
Okay, great. So thanks for the invitation to offer this spotlight on culturally competent mental health care. I'll use my time today to describe some situations from my work at Refugee and Immigrant Assistance Center, RIAC, that illustrate the challenges and joys of striving to address the cultural needs of our refugee client population. First, I'll say that I was asked to fill in this slot for my beloved colleague, Maka Osman, who is the clinical manager of RIAC's community counseling clinic and one of the founders of RIAC. She fled the war in Somalia and has made her life's work helping refugees like herself. Maka is a force of nature. She's found herself incredibly busy with new Afghan refugees, so she couldn't be here today. During my 2 years at RIAC, I've learned a great deal from, and I'm incredibly grateful to work with her. While the topic of my spotlight this afternoon is cultural competence, as I've thought about what I want to share and looked at some of the literature, I've decided that it would be better to talk about cultural humility. Cultural humility is an orientation to care that's based on self-reflection, appreciation of clients' expertise about their lives and experiences, openness to sharing power with clients, and constantly learning from them. I've discovered a lot about cultural humility while caring for refugee and immigrant clients from diverse cultural backgrounds. I asked myself, how can I better address their needs and try to anticipate and possibly eliminate the barriers they experience? How can I learn about the cultures they come from and the attitudes they bring with the goal of putting more power in their hands at a time when so many of them continue to feel very hugely challenged by life in the US? Please just indulge me for a moment in an analogy that came to me as I've been thinking about this topic of cultural humility. I don't know if any of you have seen the movie Fantastic Fungi, The Magic Beneath Us, or know much about mushrooms and mycelia. Briefly, what we know about mushrooms and other fungi is that under the forest floor, there's this amazing network of mycelia, structures that communicate and spread nutrients, and of course, occasionally produce a mushroom that pops up and is visible above the ground, which then spreads its spores further when it matures. What we see is the mushroom, but the mycelia are the much bigger structures underneath, lending support. I suggest that you think of cultural humility as a structure underneath our interactions with our clients, not visible, but nonetheless providing support and creating new pathways as we forge our relationships with them, sometimes sprouting above the ground, demonstrating our human connection in beautiful and unique ways. So with that in mind, and I'm sorry I don't have a visual to offer you, a bit more about RIAC. Our clients initially come for resettlement services and English language classes, legal help, housing, and other services. The majority of our clients have come from Somalia and Iraq, but RIAC welcomes refugees, immigrants, and asylum seekers from all over the world. Most recently, we've been receiving refugees from Afghanistan. Some of our clients come for counseling to receive mental health care. RIAC's community counseling clinic's presence in the office allows clients to be seen for mental health care in a familiar setting, and hopefully to avoid the feeling of stigma they might feel by going to a clinic solely designated for mental health needs. From the start of our work with them in the counseling clinic, it's important for us to approach clients with respect and curiosity about their lives and experiences. We acknowledge they may have feelings of shame in needing our support. We validate and normalize the challenges so many refugees have faced and continue to face, which can result in challenging psychiatric symptoms. One positive force for us is the experience of our clients who've come to us and had some of their symptoms helped by therapy or medication. They spread the message by word of mouth to friends in their mosques or their neighborhoods that it is possible to feel better. The introduction by a trusted friend from their own community enables us to have an opportunity to help even more people with their mental health. I'd like to share 3 tales in my journey achieving greater cultural humility in my work at RIAC. The first tale concerns the very start of my time at RIAC. Everything about the job was new to me in late February 2020, and as can happen with work in a busy, tiny office, I didn't yet have access to the computer system. I also didn't yet have a feel for the culture of the office or that of the clients I would work with. I had jumped in, delighted to get started, but a bit like a deer in the headlights, despite my age and experience in other parts of life, including with immigrant populations in my job as an OBGYN nurse practitioner. Within 2 weeks of starting at RIAC, the pandemic shut everything down. One day, Massachusetts Governor Baker closed all non-essential workplaces, effective immediately. That day, I was at the RIAC office trying to get into the computer to finally write notes and the charts of the clients I'd seen over the past 2 weeks. My colleague, Maka, was also there. I had just met her, and she had informed me that 2 clients had arrived and were waiting to see me. I assumed I needed to follow Governor Baker's rule that we should be closed. I was also feeling pretty overwhelmed and didn't want to add to my load, so I told her, "We're closed." Maka passed the news along, and they left. I did contact those clients not long after over the phone. But over the ensuing days and weeks, as I got to know RIAC, I realized that I should have seen them that day. Our clients' lives are so difficult, and at RIAC, we always strive to be helpful if we possibly can. To this day, I still feel bad that I didn't yet have sufficient grounding in this organization's culture and our clients' situations to know that when clients make their way to our office, we do everything to accommodate them. I also understand now, after conducting sessions largely by phone for 2 years, that the scheduled times for phone visits need to be very flexible. We need to accommodate clients who miss appointments because they're sleeping, because so many experience sleep problems, or praying or working, and try them again later. I'm now more grounded in the culture of RIAC and much more understanding of our clients' challenges. You might say that this is an example of starting to develop cultural humility, where we commit to lifelong learning and self-reflection. My first humbling experience was in learning about myself, the culture of the organization, and the interaction of the two. Just a little of that mycelium starting to grow under the forest floor. We know, and I have come to understand at more than a theoretical level, that culture significantly impacts mental health, including the perception of health and illness, treatment-seeking behavior, and coping styles. Our clients, many of whom have experienced serious trauma, come to me with difficult symptoms, disturbing thoughts during the day, and insomnia, nightmares, worries, and sadness. Their nightmares often disturb spouses and children. Some have memory problems, and as a result, must depend on family support, reminders about appointments, help finding things mislaid in apartments. I spoke with a woman this week who calls her son at work to have him remind her of what she planned to do during her day. She sometimes forgets what she started cooking in the kitchen. Many of our clients began life in a country where they were respected, capable, and contributing members of their community. At the very least, they could communicate easily in their native language. Now they're in a place where there are myriad barriers to living a satisfying life. Many are feeling challenged just to feel productive and at ease. And many have a hard time managing their daily activities. To the extent an outsider like me can, I have come to understand and appreciate our clients' expertise about their lives and experiences. Here's my second tale. In my role as a psychiatric nurse practitioner at RIT, I prescribe medication for clients who have problems with insomnia and nightmares, depression and anxiety, panic attacks, and memory concerns. They live with the traumas they experience in their home countries. My hope is that medication can at least allow them to get better sleep and help calm their flashbacks and nightmares, take the edge off their anxieties and sadness. I should mention here that I don't do therapy. Almost all of my clients also see a therapist at RIT. At first, as a new prescriber, when I ordered a new medication, my hope and expectation was that the client would go to their pharmacy and pick it up that day and start taking it as prescribed. I assumed that when we meet again in a few weeks, I could see if it was helping. But I've discovered that the reality is often not like this. There are numerous barriers for our clients, even putting the challenges of COVID aside. Imagine an elderly Somali client in her headscarf making her way to the Walgreens, trying to pick up a medication a few days after I send the prescription in. The clerk tells her they don't see her prescription. My client doesn't speak English, so she isn't able to ask what the holdup is. She also doesn't think to call Maka. Of course, Maka to text me because she's accustomed to such barriers. There's racism, anti-Muslim fear, or more likely a Walgreens employee stressed for time who is not empowered to look deeper and to take more time to troubleshoot in the midst of a busy day. So at our follow-up visit, rather than assessing whether the medication has been helpful, my job is to call Walgreens and see what happened and make sure the medicine will soon be ready for her to pick up. I'll see her again in a few more weeks, and with luck, I can then see how the medicine is working. I'm beginning to understand more of the areas where I need and others who interface with our clients need to have understanding so we can serve them and help in the ways we hope to. Now I'm learning to ask about when clients think they can get to the pharmacy, reminding them to let us know if they have trouble picking up meds and having a better sense of when to schedule a follow-up. While I'm building my understanding of the barriers, I'm also encouraging our clients to speak up and reach out for help with the troubleshooting. More mycelial strands are being built in my network of cultural humility. My final tale is related to religion and the importance it plays in mental health care, both understanding the etiology of distress and also the ways to heal. Most of the clients served by RIT are practicing Muslims. I'm not. Still, I'm learning the importance of their Muslim faith in their lives. Their speech is sprinkled with, inshallah, God willing, as we talk about what they're hoping for or expecting. Prayer helps them with anxiety. It's a way to cope with uncertainty. And faith provides support and hope. Many of our clients turn to prayer and to their religious communities. However, sometimes in their expression of faith, there are challenges. A client I spoke with this week mentioned that his teenage daughter is being harassed by neighbors in their housing complex because she wears a hijab. We're often called upon to help with housing concerns. Some clients have faced religious discrimination in their workplaces. We can support them both for the emotional toll these experiences take, and we can refer them for legal assistance. Additionally, in my work with folks taking medications during the month of Ramadan, there are multiple changes in how they might take their meds due to being up very early to pray and fasting from sunup to sundown. As a culturally aware provider, I might ask, how do you plan to take your medication during the month of Ramadan? When would be the best time to take your nightmare medication during this month of prayer and fasting? My primary responsibility is to my clients, but I've learned that an important cultural and emotional issue for many of them is family members living in their home countries. After making their escape from a war zone, possibly after seeing family members killed or otherwise losing multiple friends and loved ones, Many have needed to leave family behind. I've realized that my role requires that I pay attention to this challenge. I've also realized that the trauma my clients have suffered can create unique challenges to resettling here. They usually appreciate the security and safety they've gained, yet sometimes they have a limited sense of safety here nonetheless. They may live in housing where violent incidents happen. They might be triggered around July 4th when they hear firecrackers or fireworks, reminders of the bombs and gunfire they witnessed. And they are certainly deeply affected by news of ongoing conflicts in their home countries where family members may be in danger. That lack of a sense of safety is something that we as clinicians always need to keep in mind to offer anticipatory guidance and support when we can. More mycelia in the invisible structure beneath us. At RIT, we joyfully celebrate the success of our clients making their way to feeling more mentally healthy, many gaining US citizenship and then getting their passports and being able to travel and visit relatives. Their children develop language skills and succeed in school and often push back against cultural pressures at home. But that's a whole other talk. We can think of our clients' successes, gaining citizenship, or simply having fewer nightmares or fewer worries and less despair, as the beautiful mushrooms popping up from the growing structure of cultural humility, empathy, and understanding we've built down below. Thanks.